You can't talk about the history of Westfield without talking about the tannery, which cost a little over $1,000 to build and $1.5 million to demolish. Hi, I'm Carolyn Straneri from Howard Hanna Professionals, where we are proud of our rich local heritage. In today's segment, we're going back to 1846 and John Mintoyne, who built the first tannery on Mill Creek using a hollowed-out log as the vat. 16 years later, the tannery was sold to Frank Eberly, and the F. Eberly family business was born. With the arrival of the railroad in 1883, the tannery doubled in size. However, tragedy struck just 2 years later when Frank Eberly accidentally fell into a vat of hot liquid at the tannery and died from his burns. His son, Joe F. Eberly, took over, and the tannery continued to prosper and grow, producing a finished leather instead of the rough, unfinished leather that they were making. After Joe had a chance conversation with the welting manufacturer, the tannery switched to producing welts, making the Eberly Tannery the largest welting business in the world. On a bitter cold day in December 1919, a disastrous fire completely destroyed the tannery yard. They quickly rebuilt, expanding to a more modern facility with 560 vats. The close of 1920 saw the end of welting, when leather shoe soles took over. However, the tannery adapted, and by 1928, now with the name Tioga Oak, their leather became one of the best-known names in the industry. Over the next few decades, the tannery continued to prosper. They survived not only the Great Depression, at a time when many companies across the country went out of business, but also the death of Joseph F. Eberly Sr. in 1943 and another fire in 1958 that destroyed one of their warehouses. They recovered once again, and by the mid-1970s, the tannery was one of the largest producers of leather soles in the world. However, tragedy would once again visit the tannery, this time in 1976, when an explosion and another fire struck. Walters Inc. of Knoxville was killed, and the blast, with flames shooting 100 feet in the air, shook nearby buildings. This would be the beginning of the end for the tannery, as increasing environmental and union issues plagued them. Joseph Eberly Jr. announced that they would shutter its doors in October of 1982. But that wasn't the end. The customers of the tannery purchased it. However, environmental issues once again forced its closing in 1985. In order for the tannery to survive, the employees agreed to a pay cut as well as leaving the union. And by 1993, each employee became part owner of the newly formed Weston Tanning Company. Eventually, financial difficulties forced the closing of the tannery for the final time in 2004. Developed Tioga purchased the 18-acre property in 2017 and started demolition shortly thereafter, with the demo completed in 2021 at a price tag of $1.5 million. We would like to thank the Westfield Area Historical Society for their assistance in this segment.
For all your real estate needs, call the professionals at Howard Hanna Professionals in Wellsboro and ask for Carol Hoke,
Laurel Bear,
Carolyn Straneri,
or Sandy Stevens.